The piazza fell silent the moment the child screamed. She tore through the crowd, small, terrified, her white dress streaked with dirt, and threw herself at the tall man in the tailored black suit. Her fingers clawed at his leg as she sobbed. "He's not my dad. Please, he's not my dad." Every eye turned. The man claiming her froze mid-reach. And Don Benedetto Alleri, the most feared name in Rome, looked down at the trembling girl with an expression no one could read. The ink across his knuckles, sang Eonor, caught the afternoon light as his hand hovered just once before settling on her head. If you believe love can rise from darkness, that protection can become obsession, and that one choice can rewrite fate, stay with me. Please like, share and subscribe. Creator transparency. This video utilizes AI-enhanced tools for visuals, scripting, or editing to elevate the production quality. While these tools assist in the process, the creative vision, final assembly and editorial direction remain entirely human-led. I am committed to using technology responsibly to share my unique perspective with you. The weight of her was nothing. But the silence she created was everything. Benedetto didn't move. Didn't speak. His hand rested on the child's dark curls while chaos brewed around him. Whispers spreading like wildfire, phones rising, the man in the cheap jacket stepping back with his palms raised. The festival had been Rosa's idea. "You need to be seen," she'd insisted that morning. "Not as the Don. As a man. The people need to remember you're one of them." He wasn't. Had never been. But Rosa had raised him after his mother died, and saying no to her was harder than negotiating with the Sicilian families. So he'd come. Walk through the stalls. Let children stare at the ink on his hands. Pretended he belonged among fresh bread and laughter and normal lives. Then she'd appeared. Running. Crying. Choosing him out of hundreds. "Signore, there's been a mistake," the man in the cheap jacket stammered, his eyes darting to the exits like a cornered animal. Benedetto's gaze lifted. Steady. Patient. The kind of look that had made older, harder men confess to things they'd buried for decades. "A mistake," he repeated, his voice carrying despite its quietness. The Roman accent was crisp, each syllable weighted with authority. The crowd pressed closer, sensing blood in the water. "She's confused," the man tried again, sweat beading on his forehead. "My daughter, she's upset, doesn't understand." "She knows." 2 words. Final as a gravestone. The child's sobs turned to hiccups against Benedetto's thigh. She didn't let go. Her small hands fisted in the expensive fabric of his trousers, custom-made, probably worth more than most of these people earned in a month. And he let her, even as his security detail materialized from the crowd like wolves scenting prey. Luca appeared at his shoulder, silent and lethal. His second-in-command didn't need to ask questions. Just waited for orders with the stillness of a man who'd executed dozens. "Find out who he is," Benedetto said quietly, his tattooed fingers flexing once against the girl's head. Not a caress but a claim. "Everything. Family. Debts. Who sent him?" "Boss." Luca melted back into the crowd. The man in the jacket was already backing away, hands raised in surrender. "Please, I didn't know. I was just told to collect." "Collect what?" Benedetto's voice dropped lower. Softer. More dangerous. The girl. "I have paperwork. Legal custody transfer. Her mother signed." "Her mother is dead." The new voice cut through the tension like a blade. Benedetto's head turned. And he saw her for the first time. Serena Bellandi pushed through the crowd with the desperate strength of someone who'd learned to fight for what mattered. She was beautiful in the way working women were beautiful. No artifice, no softness, just clean lines and fierce eyes and the kind of exhaustion that came from caring too much in a world that didn't care enough. Her nurse's scrubs were visible beneath her jacket. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup. No jewelry. Nothing to recommend her except the way she moved, like she'd walk through fire if it meant reaching the child. Benedetto felt something shift in his chest. Recognition maybe. Or warning. "Emma." Her voice cracked as she stepped into the circle. "Emma, Tesoro, come here." The little girl's head whipped around. "Serena." Relief flooded those wide brown eyes. The same eyes Serena had looked into every morning for 3 years. Ever since Emma's mother had died in a hospital bed, holding Serena's hand, begging her to take care of the baby she was leaving behind. Serena wasn't family. Wasn't even mentioned in any will. Just the night nurse who'd stayed late, who'd held a dying woman's hand, who'd promised things she had no legal right to promise. But she'd kept her word. For 3 years she'd been Emma's world. Mother, protector, provider. Working double shifts to keep them fed, fighting landlords and social workers, and a system designed to take children from women who loved them but couldn't prove ownership. Now Emma clung to a stranger instead of running to her. The hurt was physical. "He was trying to take me," Emma whispered, still pressed against Benedetto's leg. Her small finger pointed at the man in the jacket. "He said my mama owed him money. He said I had to pay." The world stopped. Serena's gaze snapped to the stranger, 40-something, weathered, with the desperate look of someone who'd spent their life in other people's debt. He was already edging toward the crowd's perimeter, but Benedetto's men had formed a wall. No escape. "I have paperwork," the man said again, his voice rising with panic. "Legal documentation. The mother, Maria Bellandi, she signed a contract before she died. Debt transfer. The girl is collateral." "Lies." Serena's voice came out harder than she'd ever heard it. She moved forward without thinking, her body angling between Emma and the stranger like a shield. "Maria died 3 years ago. Whatever debt you're collecting, whatever contract you think exists, it's fake. It's real." The man pulled a crumpled envelope from his jacket. "Notarized and everything. She owes, the estate owes, and the girl is the payment." "Show me." Benedetto's voice cut through the argument like silk over steel. Every head turned. He hadn't moved. His hand still rested on Emma's head. But something in his posture had changed. A coiled readiness, like a predator deciding whether to strike. The man hesitated, then thrust the envelope forward. Luca intercepted it, brought it to Benedetto. The Don didn't take it. Just nodded once. Luca opened the envelope, scanned the contents, and his face went carefully blank. "It's professionally done, boss. Looks legitimate. But is it? I'd need our lawyers to verify." Benedetto's attention finally left the child. Focused on Serena with the full weight of his regard. He felt it like a physical touch. Like standing too close to a fire. His eyes were dark, not black, but deep brown with flecks of gold that caught the light when he tilted his head. Assessing. Measuring. Finding her wanting or worthy, she couldn't tell which. The tattoo along his collarbone, just visible above his open collar, read La Famiglia è tutto in elegant script. "Family is everything. You know this, child," he said. Not a question. "Yes." Serena forced herself not to look away. Men like him fed on weakness, and she had too much to lose. "She's mine. I'm her legal guardian." "Paperwork." Her stomach dropped. "We're in the process. The courts are slow. Her mother didn't leave a will, and I'm not blood family, so you have no legal claim." His voice was flat. Factual. Devastating. "I have 3 years of love." Serena's hands clenched into fists. "I have every night she's woken up crying. Every fever I've stayed up through. Every birthday, every nightmare, Her voice cracked. "I'm the only mother she remembers." Something flickered in Benedetto's eyes. Gone too fast to name. He looked back at the man in the jacket, who was practically vibrating with the need to flee. "What's your name?" "Marco. Marco Santini." "And who do you work for, Marco Santini?" The man's throat worked. "I'm independent. Freelance debt collection." "Liar." The word was soft. Absolutely certain. Marco's face went pale. "I'm telling the truth." "You're not." Benedetto's hand finally moved, left Emma's head, settled at his side where the tattoo on his wrist was visible. A date. March 15, 1999. Freelance collectors don't have access to forged legal documents. They don't target children of dead women with no assets. And they certainly don't show up at public festivals with fake paperwork unless someone very stupid or very desperate sent them. He took one step forward. Just one. Marco stumbled back like he'd been shoved. "So I'll ask again," Benedetto continued, his voice still quiet, still controlled. "Who sent you?" "I don't know. I was just, the job came through a lawyer in Naples. Anonymous client. I was supposed to collect the girl, bring her to an address. I didn't ask questions." "You should have." Benedetto glanced at Luca. Some silent communication passed between them. Luca nodded, gestured to two of the security detail. They closed in on Marco like shadows, lifting him by the arms with practiced efficiency. Wait. Marco thrashed weakly. Please, I didn't know she was protected. I wouldn't have. You're right, Benedetto said calmly. You wouldn't have. He turned back to Emma and his entire demeanor shifted. The predator vanished. Something gentler or at least less lethal took its place. He crouched down, bringing himself to her eye level. The movement was smooth, unconscious, like he'd done it before. The tattoos on his hands, sang e honor, blood and honor, seemed less threatening when they were at a child's height. What's your name? He asked softly. Emma. So small. So trusting. Emma. He tested the weight of it and seemed satisfied. You're safe now. Do you understand? She nodded, tears still wet on her cheeks. No one will take you. His thumb brushed across his own knuckles. A habit maybe, or a reminder. Not while I'm here. Promise. The question was so earnest, so full of hope that Serena's heart cracked. Benedetto didn't flinch. I promise. Emma smiled then, the first real smile Serena had seen in weeks, and threw her arms around his neck. He caught her reflexively, his large hands steadying her small body, and for just a moment he looked utterly lost. Like he'd been handed something precious and had no idea what to do with it. Then his gaze lifted over Emma's head. Met Serena's. And she saw the exact moment he made his decision. You, he said quietly. Come with me. It wasn't a request. The car was obscene. Black, sleek, with windows so dark Serena couldn't see inside until the door opened. The interior was all leather and chrome and the kind of luxury that made her acutely aware of her worn scrubs and scuffed shoes. Emma climbed in without hesitation, her small hand still clutching Benedetto's like he was safety personified. Serena hesitated at the curb. Get in. Benedetto stood beside the open door, patient but immovable. Or stay here and wait for whoever sent Marco to try again. It wasn't a choice. Serena got in. The door closed with an expensive thunk. The world outside became muted, distant. Inside smelled like leather and something darker, cologne maybe, or the particular scent of power. Benedetto settled into the seat across from her, Emma between them. He hadn't touched Serena, hadn't crowded her, but his presence filled the space anyway. The car pulled away from the curb with barely a whisper of sound. Where are we going? Serena's voice came out steadier than she felt. Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. His attention was on the window, watching the streets of Rome blur past. Until I know who sent Marco and why, you're both exposed. Vulnerable. I'm removing that variable. By kidnapping us? His gaze slid to her, lazy and sharp. By protecting you. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. He leaned forward slightly, and even that small movement seemed calculated. Controlled. If I wanted to take you, Signorina, you'd already be gone. No questions. No car ride. Just gone. He sat back. I'm giving you a choice. Stay under my protection until the threat is neutralized, or walk away and handle it yourself. That's not a choice. No, he agreed. But it's more than most people get. Emma leaned against Serena's side, her eyes already drooping. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving behind exhaustion and the boneless trust of childhood. Serena stroked her hair automatically, her mind racing. She didn't know this man. Knew only his reputation, whispered in hospital break rooms and grocery store lines. Don Benedetto Allery. The head of Rome's oldest family. A man who controlled territories and politicians and fortunes with the same casual efficiency most people managed their grocery lists. Dangerous didn't begin to cover it. But he'd stopped for a crying child. Had listened when Emma said, "He's not my dad." Had promised safety like it was something he could deliver. And maybe in his world it was. How long? Serena asked quietly. 3 days. Maybe less. Benedetto's fingers drummed once against his thigh, the only sign of tension she'd seen. Luca will find out who's behind the paperwork. I'll handle them. Then you're free to go. And if we can't go back to our apartment? Then I'll find you a new one. Just like that. Just like that. Serena studied him in the low light. The sharp jaw. The aristocratic nose. The ink that marked him as someone who'd chosen violence as a language and learned to speak it fluently. Why are you doing this? She asked. For the first time something human crossed his face. Something almost vulnerable. I don't know yet, he admitted. The safe house was a villa in the hills above Rome. Old stone and iron gates and the kind of security that didn't need to advertise itself. Serena counted at least 4 cameras before they even reached the front door. Inside was warm. Surprisingly warm. Lived in, even with mismatched furniture and photographs on the walls. Old women in black dresses, young men in military uniforms, children with dark eyes and serious expressions. Family. A woman appeared from the kitchen. Older, gray-haired, with the kind face of someone who'd weathered storms and come out stronger. Rosa, Benedetto said by way of introduction. She'll get the child settled. Food, bath, whatever she needs. Rosa smiled at Emma, warm and genuine. Hello, Piccola. Are you hungry? Emma looked at Serena, uncertain. It's okay, Tesoro, Serena said softly. I'll be right here. Only partially a lie. Rosa held out her hand and after a moment, Emma took it. They disappeared down a hallway, Rosa already chattering about fresh bread and chocolate milk. Serena and Benedetto stood alone in the foyer. The silence stretched. She was my nurse, he said finally. When I was young. After my mother died. Serena blinked. She hadn't expected personal history. Hadn't expected him to offer anything beyond commands. She stayed, she asked. She stayed. His expression was unreadable. Even when my father's business became impossible to ignore. She stayed and raised me and never asked for anything except that I eat my vegetables and go to Mass on Sundays. Despite everything, Serena almost smiled. Did you eat my vegetables? Sometimes. Go to Mass. He shrugged. God and I have an understanding. I don't ask him for forgiveness and he doesn't ask me to stop. It should have been blasphemous. Instead it sounded honest. Emma will be safe with her, Benedetto continued. Rosa has experience. With fear. With children who've seen too much. Like you. His jaw tightened. Yes. Like me. Serena wanted to ask more. Wanted to understand what turned a child into a man who wore violence like a second skin. But Rosa returned before she could find the words. Emma freshly scrubbed and dressed in pajamas that were too big but soft. She's asleep already, Rosa said fondly. Poor Bambina. All this excitement. Thank you, Serena managed. Rosa patted her arm. You look exhausted, Cara. Come. I'll show you to your room. I should stay with Emma. Emma has her own room with a lock on the inside and Rosa sleeping next door, Benedetto interrupted. His voice was firm but not unkind. You need rest. Real rest. Not the kind you get sitting in a chair watching a child sleep. He was right. He hated that he was right. Rosa led her upstairs to a bedroom that was simple but comfortable. White linens, wooden furniture, a window overlooking the hills. There's a bathroom through there, Rosa pointed. Clean towels, toiletries, whatever you need. Benedetto had some clothes brought. They should fit. Serena opened her mouth to ask how he'd known her size, then closed it. Men like Benedetto knew things. It was what made them dangerous. Thank you, she said instead. Rosa smiled, squeezed her hand and left. Alone, Serena sank onto the bed and let herself shake. She woke to darkness and voices. Disoriented, she checked her phone. 11 p.m. She'd slept for 3 hours. The voices were coming from downstairs. Male. Controlled. Tense. Serena crept to the door, opened it a crack. Not just a debt collector. Luca's voice, hard with certainty. The lawyer in Naples is connected to the Rossi family. Silence. Then Benedetto, Rossi. You're certain? The paperwork has their fingerprints all over it. Literally. Whoever forged the documents wasn't careful. Left traces. The Rossi family doesn't make mistakes like that. No. Which means either they're getting sloppy or... Luca paused. Or they wanted us to know. More silence. Longer this time. Serena's hands tightened on the doorframe. She didn't know who the Rossi family was, but the way Benedetto said the name, like it tasted of ash, told her enough. Why the child? Benedetto's voice was quieter now. More dangerous. Maria Bellandi was nobody. A nurse who died in debt. Her daughter has no value, no leverage. Unless Maria wasn't nobody. Find out. Everything. Where she came from, who she knew, why she died in Rome instead of wherever she was born. I want her life stripped down to the bones. Already on it, boss. And Marco. Basement. Waiting. Good. Pause. I'll speak with him after. Serena didn't mean to make a sound. Didn't realize she'd gasped until the conversation stopped dead. Footsteps. Fast. Controlled. The door swung open. Benedetto stood there, backlit by the hallway, his expression unreadable. How much did you hear? Not angry. Just assessing. Enough. Serena forced herself not to back away. Who are the Rossi family? No one you need to worry about. They sent a man to take Emma. That makes them my problem. Benedetto studied her for a long moment, then stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. The space felt suddenly smaller. More intimate. He was still dressed, though his jacket was gone and his sleeves were rolled up. The tattoos on his forearms were fully visible now. Names, dates, symbols she didn't understand but could feel the weight of. The Rossi family, he said carefully, are old blood. Camorra. Neapolitan. They control shipping in the south, have politicians in their pocket, and they don't forget grudges. What could they possibly want with a 3-year-old girl? That's what I'm going to find out. Serena wrapped her arms around herself. And Marco? The man from the piazza? What are you going to do to him? Benedetto's expression didn't change. Ask questions. What if he doesn't answer? He will. The certainty in those 2 words made her stomach turn. You're going to hurt him. If necessary. That's, she struggled for words. You can't just. Yes, Benedetto said quietly. I can. This is my world, Signorina. These are my rules. The only reason you and the child are safe right now is because I'm willing to break bones to keep you that way. He moved closer. Not threatening but deliberate. Serena's breath caught. You want to leave? He asked softly. The door's not locked. Take the child and go. I'll give you money, a car, a head start. You can disappear into the night and never see me again. And then whoever sent Marco sends someone else. Someone less stupid. Someone who doesn't get caught. His eyes held hers. And maybe next time they don't bring paperwork. Maybe they just take. Fear crawled up her spine. Or, Benedetto continued, you stay. Let me handle this. Let me use the tools I have. The reputation, the reach, the willingness to do what you can't, to make sure no one ever touches that child again. At what cost? To you? Nothing. I don't believe that. Something dark crossed his face. Almost a smile. Smart. He turned to leave. Serena's voice stopped him. What do you get out of this? His hand was on the doorknob. He didn't turn around. Peace, he said finally. Maybe. Then he was gone, and Serena was alone with her racing heart and the terrible knowledge that she'd already made her choice the moment she got in his car. Morning came with the smell of coffee and fresh bread. Serena found Emma in the kitchen with Rosa, both of them covered in flour, laughing over some shared joke. The sight should have been comforting. Instead it terrified her. Emma had never looked this happy in their tiny apartment. Never had this much space to run, this much attention, this much safety. What happened when they had to leave? Serena. Emma bounded over, flower handprints on her dress. Rosa's teaching me to make bread. Real bread like her nana used to make. That's wonderful, Tesoro. Rosa smiled from the counter. She's a natural. Good hands. Patient. She gets that from her mother, Serena said automatically. The words hung in the air. Emma's smile dimmed slightly. I don't remember my mama very well. Serena's heart cracked. I know, sweetheart. But I remember you. Emma wrapped her arms around Serena's waist. You're like my mama now. Right. Right, Serena whispered into her hair. Footsteps in the hallway. Benedetto appeared, dressed for the day in dark slacks and a crisp white shirt. No jacket. The tattoo on his collarbone was visible, along with another she hadn't noticed. Smaller script along his ribs, just visible when he moved. Protegger cio che mio. Protect what is mine. Emma lit up. Benedetto. Look. She held up her flour-covered hands. I'm making bread. He crossed to her, crouched down with that same unconscious grace, and examined her work seriously. Good technique, he said, absolutely deadpan. Rosa's been teaching you well. Will you try some? When it's done, I'd be honored. Emma beamed and ran back to the counter. Benedetto straightened and his eyes found Serena's. Something passed between them. Understanding maybe. Or recognition. They were both protecting the same thing now. Walk with me, he said quietly. Not a request. The villa's gardens were extensive. Olive trees and roses and stone paths worn smooth by generations. They walked in silence for a while, Benedetto's hands in his pockets, his expression distant. Luca found something, he said finally. Serena's stomach dropped. About Maria? About Emma's father. The world tilted. Emma's father died before she was born, Serena said automatically. Maria told me. Maria lied. The words hit like a fist. Benedetto stopped walking, turned to face her. In the morning light, his features were sharp and unforgiving, except for his eyes, which held something almost like regret. Emma's father was Cristiano Belandi, he said quietly. Does that name mean anything to you? It did. God help her, it did. Cristiano Belandi. The traitor. The man who'd testified against the Camorra, destroyed 3 families, put dozens of men in prison or graves. He died 6 years ago. Shot in a witness protection house in Milan. No, Serena whispered. That's not possible. Maria never. She would have told me. Maria was his wife. Benedetto's voice was gentle but relentless. Married under a false name while he was in protection. When he was killed, she ran. Changed her identity. Ended up in Rome. Died thinking she'd hidden her daughter from the people who wanted revenge. Serena's legs gave out. She sank onto a nearby bench, her mind reeling. Emma. Sweet Emma with her drawings and her laugh and her trust. She was the daughter of a dead traitor. They'll kill her, Serena said numbly. The families he betrayed, they'll kill her to balance the scales. Not while I'm here. You can't protect her from this. From all of them. Benedetto sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth but not touching. The Rossi family sent Marco, he said. They're one of the 3 families Cristiano destroyed. But they're not working alone. This kind of coordination, forged documents, hiring collectors, finding a hidden child, takes resources. Connections. How many families want her dead? 3. Maybe more, depending on old allegiances. Serena's laugh was broken. And you think you can stop them all? Yes. One word. Absolute certainty. She turned to look at him. Really look. At the man who'd stopped for a crying child. Who'd brought them to his home. Who'd promised safety like it was something he could wrap in his hands and deliver. Why? She asked. Why risk this? Why risk everything for a child you don't even know? Benedetto was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was low. Almost hollow. My father was a monster, he said. Built his empire on fear. On breaking people until they had nothing left but obedience. His hands clenched into fists, the tattooed knuckles white. I watched him do terrible things. To enemies. To allies. To family. He paused. Serena waited, her heart pounding. When I was 8, a man came to our house. Begged my father for mercy. Said he had children. Said he'd do anything. Benedetto's jaw worked. My father killed him anyway. Made me watch. Told me it was a lesson about weakness. Serena's breath caught. That man had 3 daughters, Benedetto continued. After he died, the families circled. Everyone wanted a piece of what he'd left behind. Those girls, they were collateral. Bargaining chips. What happened to them? I don't know. The words came out rough. My father wouldn't tell me. Wouldn't let me ask. But I think about them. Wonder if they survived. If anyone protected them. He finally looked at her and his eyes were raw. So when a child runs to me crying when she chooses me out of everyone in that piazza. He stopped. Maybe I can't save those 3 girls. But I can save her. Serena felt something break open in her chest. This man. This dangerous, violent, impossible man. He was trying to rewrite his own story through Emma's. You can't save everyone, she said softly. No. He stood, looked out over the gardens. But I can save her. And you. I don't need saving. You do. He glanced back and something in his expression made her pulse quicken. You just don't want to admit it. Before she could respond, Luca appeared on the terrace, his face grim. Boss. We have a problem. The problem came in the form of a phone call. Benedetto took it in his study, Serena standing by the door because he hadn't told her to leave and she needed to know. Allery, he answered, his voice ice. Pause. Then, I'm aware. Another pause. Longer. That's not your concern. His expression was stone. Then we have nothing to discuss. He ended the call without ceremony, set the phone down with deliberate care. Who was that? Serena asked. Antonio Rossi. Head of the Neapolitan family. Benedetto's voice was flat. He knows Emma's here. Knows I'm protecting her. How? Because I wanted him to know. He met her eyes. I made calls this morning. Let it be known that Emma Bellandi is under Allery protection. That anyone who touches her answers to me. Serena's mind raced. You just declared war? I declared intent. He moved to the window, his back to her. There's a difference. War comes later if they're stupid enough to test me. And if they are? Then I remind them why my family has held Rome for 3 generations. The casual violence in his tone should have terrified her. Instead it felt like safety. What did he want? She asked. To negotiate. Benedetto's reflection was visible in the glass. Hard lines and harder eyes. He offered money. Territorial concessions. Access to shipping routes I've wanted for years. In exchange for? Emma. The room went cold. I told him no, Benedetto continued. Told him the child is famiglia now. Untouchable. What does that mean? Famiglia. He turned and his gaze pinned her in place. It means she's mine, he said quietly. Under my name. My protection. My blood if necessary. He paused. It means if they want her they go through me. Through every man loyal to the Allery name. Through generations of alliances and debts and oaths. Can you win that fight? Yes. You're sure? I'm sure I'll die trying. The conviction in his voice stole her breath. Serena stepped forward without thinking. This isn't your fight. It is now. Why? Because a scared child grabbed your leg. Yes. Simple. Devastating. Because she chose me and I choose to be worthy of that. They stood 3 feet apart, the air between them charged with something Serena couldn't name. Traction maybe. Or recognition. Or the terrible understanding that they were both falling into an abyss with no way back. I should take her and run, Serena said. Disappear. It would be safer for everyone. It would be safer for me, Benedetto corrected. Not for you. Not for her. You don't know that. I do. He moved closer, one step then another, until she had to tilt her head back to hold his gaze. You think you can outrun the Rossi family? The Camorra? They have reach you can't imagine. Resources you can't match. The moment you run, you're prey. And if I stay? You're protected. At what cost? His hand lifted, hovered near her face, then dropped. I don't know yet. The honesty was almost worse than a lie. Serena's eyes burned. I can't owe you this much. You don't owe me anything. Then what do you want from me? The question hung between them. Benedetto's gaze dropped to her mouth, then back to her eyes. I want, he said slowly, carefully, for you to trust me. Just for now. Just until this is over. And then you're free to go. She didn't believe him. But she nodded anyway. That night the villa was attacked. Serena woke to gunfire and alarms and Rosa's urgent whisper. Get up. No. Take the child and go to the safe room. Her mind couldn't process it. What? Now girl. Training took over. Serena stumbled down the hall to Emma's room, found her already awake, eyes wide with terror. It's okay, Tesoro. Okay. We just need to. Glass shattered downstairs. Shouting. Male voices. Gunfire closer now. Serena grabbed Emma, lifted her despite the weight and ran. Rosa led them through a hidden door in the hallway, down a narrow staircase Serena hadn't known existed. The safe room was small, windowless, with steel walls and a single cot. Stay here, Rosa commanded, already turning to leave. Don't open the door for anyone except me or Benedetto. Where are you going? To help. The old woman's face was grim. Lock it behind me. Then she was gone, and Serena was alone with Emma in a metal box while the villa tore itself apart above them. Emma was crying. Silent, terrified tears. Serena held her close, whispered promises she couldn't keep, and prayed to a god she wasn't sure was listening. The gunfire lasted 7 minutes. Felt like 7 hours. When the silence came, it was worse than the noise. Serena waited. Listened. Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy. Controlled. Serena. Benedetto's voice. Low and urgent. She unlocked the door with shaking hands. He stood there, shirt torn, blood on his collar. Not his, she thought, hoped, prayed. His face was a mask of barely controlled fury. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. "No. Emma's okay. We're okay." His gaze swept over them both, checking, confirming. Then he looked at Emma and his expression cracked. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough. "Piccola, I'm so sorry. This shouldn't have happened. You should never have been afraid." Emma just stared at him, too shocked to speak. Benedetto crouched down, bringing himself to her eye level. "I promised you'd be safe," he said quietly. "I broke that promise. But I swear to you, on my name, on my blood, this will never happen again." "You promise?" Emma's voice was so small. "I promise." And then Emma, brave, trusting Emma, wrapped her arms around his neck and held on. Benedetto froze. His hands hovered at his sides, uncertain. Then slowly he brought his arms up and held her back. Over Emma's head his eyes met Serena's. He saw it. The moment he stopped protecting out of obligation. The moment it became personal. The moment Don Benedetto Allery claimed them both as his. The attack has shattered any illusion of safety. Benedetto has publicly claimed Emma and Serena as famiglia, making them targets while simultaneously declaring war on the Rossi family and anyone else who threatens them. Serena watches Benedetto hold Emma in the aftermath of violence, and realizes 3 devastating truths. 1. She can never leave now. 2. Benedetto will sacrifice everything to protect them. And 3. She's beginning to fall for the most dangerous man in Rome. The question isn't whether they'll survive the coming war. It's whether they'll survive each other. The aftermath was clinical. Benedetto's men swept the grounds, removing bodies with the efficiency of people who'd done this before. Many times before. Rosa appeared with clean clothes and warm milk for Emma, her hands steady despite the blood splatter on her apron. No police came. No sirens. No questions. This was handled internally. The Allery way. Serena sat in the kitchen with Emma curled in her lap, watching dawn break over the hills. The child had finally stopped shaking. Had finally closed her eyes. But Serena couldn't stop seeing it. The moment Benedetto had crouched before Emma and promised safety he couldn't guarantee. The moment he'd held her like she mattered more than territory or power or his own life. The moment everything changed. Footsteps behind her. She didn't turn. Knew his presence by the way the air shifted. "For men," Benedetto said quietly. "Rossi sent them. Professional. Well-armed. Stupid. Stupid. They thought numbers would be enough." He moved to the espresso machine, made 2 cups with practiced movements. They forgot who they were dealing with. His sleeves were still rolled up. The tattoos were stark in the morning light. Names, dates, promises written in ink and kept in blood. "How many did you kill?" The question came out flat. "2. Luca took the others." Just like that. Just like that. He set a cup in front of her. "This is my world, Serena. This is what protection looks like. If that makes you uncomfortable." "It terrifies me," she interrupted. She finally looked at him. "Not because of the violence. Because Emma didn't even flinch when you promised her safety. He believed you. And her voice cracked. "I believe you too." Something shifted in his expression. "You shouldn't," he said. "I know." They held each other's gaze across the kitchen. The moment stretched. Deepened. Then Emma stirred and the spell broke. Later that morning, Benedetto called a meeting. Serena wasn't invited, but she stood outside the study door anyway, listening. "Can't keep them here." Luca's voice frustrated. "Rossi knows the location. He'll send more. Let him." Benedetto sounded calm. Too calm. "I want him too. Boss. Every man he sends is one less man protecting his own territory. Every attack makes him weaker. Eventually he'll overextend. Make a mistake. And if he doesn't? If he decides the girl isn't worth the trouble and pulls back. Silence. Then, he won't." "How do you know?" Because this stopped being about the girl the moment I claimed her. Benedetto's voice went cold. This is about respect now. About whether the Allery name still means something. If I back down, if I give her up, every family from here to Sicily will know I can be pushed. So you're willing to start a war over a child who isn't even yours? She is mine. The words came out hard. Final. I made her mine the moment I promised her safety. That's not negotiable. Serena's breath caught. More voices. Discussion of territories and alliances and debts owed. The machinery of power grinding forward. Then Luca, what about the woman? Her heart stopped. What about her? Benedetto's tone gave nothing away. She's a complication. Civilian. No ties to our world. Something happens. Nothing will happen. You can't guarantee that. I can. Boss. And I will. Boss, be reasonable. She's. Wine. The word cut through the room like a blade. Same as the child. Same rules apply. Anyone touches her, they answer to me. Silence. Heavy. Waited. Then Luca carefully, understood. Serena stepped back from the door, her pulse hammering. He'd claimed her. Not in passion. Not in romance. In cold, calculated protection. She should have been angry. Should have stormed in and demanded he release her from whatever oath he'd just made. Instead, she felt safe for the first time in 3 years. The days blurred together. Benedetto moved them to a different property, the family estate he called it. A genuine fortress built into the mountains north of Rome. Stone walls 3 feet thick. A single road in, easily defended. Enough land that attackers would be seen miles away. Emma adapted with the resilience of children. She explored the grounds with Rosa, learned to identify herbs in the garden, made friends with the estate's ancient cook. She also shadowed Benedetto whenever he was near. It should have been inappropriate, a child following a mafia boss like a devoted puppy. But Benedetto never dismissed her. Never sent her away. He answered her questions with surprising patience. Let her sit in his study while he worked. Taught her chess with the same intensity he probably brought to territorial negotiations. Serena watched it happen and felt her resistance crumbling. This man. This violent, impossible man. He was gentle with Emma in ways that broke her heart. One afternoon she found them in the library. Benedetto sat in a leather chair reading files. Emma was curled beside him, her small head resting against his arm, drawing in a sketchbook he'd given her. Neither spoke. Didn't need to. The companionship was enough. Serena must have made a sound because Benedetto looked up. Their eyes met. She fell asleep 20 minutes ago, he said quietly, gesturing to Emma. I didn't want to wake her. The tattoo on his wrist, that date, March 15, 1999, caught the light. What's the date? Serena asked before she could stop herself. Benedetto glanced down at the ink. Something dark crossed his face. The day my mother died, he said simply. I was 7. I'm sorry. Don't be. She's the reason I'm. He stopped. She taught me that power without conscience is just cruelty. That strength should protect, not destroy. His gaze returned to Emma. I'm still learning that lesson. Serena moved closer, drawn despite herself. You're doing well with her. I'm trying. He shifted slightly, careful not to disturb Emma. She reminds me of. Of what? Of what I could have been. If things had been different. The confession hung in the air. Serena sat in the chair across from him, and for a while they just existed in the quiet. 2 adults watching over a sleeping child, pretending the world outside wasn't hunting them. I need to tell you something, Benedetto said eventually. Her stomach tightened. What? Rossi called again. Made another offer. And? He's willing to forget Emma exists. Call off the vendetta. Restore peace between our families. Benedetto's jaw worked. In exchange for a marriage alliance. The room went cold. What kind of alliance? Serena's voice came out steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. His daughter. Carlotta. 23, educated, connected. The union would merge territories, create the strongest family in southern Italy. That's, she struggled for words. That's what you've wanted. Right? Power. Territory. Yes. He looked at her directly. That's what I've wanted my entire life. Then why do you look like someone died? His smile was bitter. Because accepting means giving up Emma. Rossi was very clear. The child is the price. He saves face. I get everything I've worked for, and Emma. He stopped. Becomes someone else's problem. Serena's hands clenched into fists. You can't. I know. I mean it, Benedetto. You can't give her up. He trusts you. She. I know, he repeated, and this time his voice was raw. I told him no. Told him to take his alliance and his daughter and his territories, and he exhaled slowly. I chose her. Over everything. The world tilted. Why? Serena whispered. Benedetto looked down at Emma, still sleeping peacefully against his arm. Because she's mine, he said quietly. And I don't give up what's mine. That night Serena couldn't sleep. She paced her room, mind racing. Benedetto had turned down power for a child he'd known less than 2 weeks. Had chosen protection over ambition. Had risked everything for what? Redemption? Penance? Some deep need to rewrite his father's sins? Or something simpler? More human? Love. The thought terrified her. A soft knock on her door. She opened it to find Benedetto standing in the hallway, still dressed despite the late hour. His expression was unreadable. Can't sleep either? He asked. No. Walk with me. They moved through the estate in silence, ending up on the terrace overlooking the valley. The moon was full, turning everything silver and shadow. I need to know something, Serena said finally. And I need you to be honest. Always. What happens when this is over? When Rossi is handled, when Emma is safe, what happens to us? Benedetto was quiet for a long moment. That depends, he said. On what? On whether you can live with what I am. He turned to face her, and the moonlight carved his features into something almost otherworldly. I'm not a good man, Serena. I've done things, terrible things, that I can't take back. The blood on my hands doesn't wash off. I know. Do you? He stepped closer. Because once you're truly part of my world, there's no going back. The violence doesn't stop. The danger doesn't end. People will always want to hurt what's mine. Including me? Especially you. The confession settled between them. Why? She asked. Because you're my weakness now. His voice dropped. Anyone looking to hurt me will see that. Will use it. You and Emma, your targets simply by existing in my orbit. Then why keep us? Because I'm selfish. He moved closer still until they were nearly touching. Because for the first time in my life I have something worth protecting that isn't territory or power or legacy. Have you? And her. And I'm not strong enough to let that go. Serena's breath caught. That's not fair, she whispered. No. It's not. You can't just. I'm not some possession you can claim. I know. His hand lifted, cupped her face with devastating gentleness. The tattoos on his knuckles were stark against her skin. But I'm claiming you anyway. Not as property. As. He stopped, searching for words. As family. As protection. As whatever you'll let me give you. And if I say no? His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Then I let you go. Set you up somewhere safe. Make sure Rossi never finds you. You'd do that. If it's what you wanted. His eyes held hers. But I'd spend the rest of my life regretting it. The honesty broke her. Serena leaned into his touch without meaning to. This is insane. Yes. We barely know each other. Yes. You're a dangerous man who kills people and makes promises he shouldn't be able to keep. Yes. His forehead dropped to hers, close enough that she could feel his breath. And you're a woman who loves too fiercely and trusts too easily and makes me want to be better than I am. I don't trust easily. You trust me. I shouldn't. But you do. True. Terrifyingly true. They stood there, balanced on a knife's edge, the world reduced to breath and proximity and the terrible pull between them. Serena knew she should step back. Should end this before it started. Instead, she heard herself ask, "What do you want from me, Benedetto?" His answer was immediate. Devastating. Everything. The kiss happened slowly. A question asked in the tilt of his head. Answered in the way she didn't pull away. His mouth found hers with careful intensity, not demanding but thorough. Like he was learning her. Memorizing her. Serena's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and he made a sound low in his throat that sent heat spiraling through her. This was madness. This was inevitable. His hands framed her face, his thumbs stroking her jaw as he deepened the kiss. Nothing rough. Nothing hurried. Just devastating certainty and the promise of more. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Benedetto rested his forehead against hers. "Tell me to stop," he said roughly. "No. Serena." "I said no." She met his eyes. "I'm tired of being afraid. Tired of running. If I'm going to fall," she stopped. "I'd rather fall with you." Something fierce crossed his face. "You're sure?" "No. But I'm doing it anyway." His smile was small. Stubborn. "You have no idea." He kissed her again, slower this time. Sweeter. Like a vow. When he pulled back, his expression was serious. "This changes things." "I know." "I'll expect." He stopped. "No. I won't expect anything. You set the terms. The pace. Everything." "Why?" "Because you deserve that much control in a life where I'm taking most of it away." The honesty was almost worse than manipulation. Serena touched his face, traced the sharp line of his jaw. "What if I don't want control? Then I'll give you protection instead." His hand covered hers. "Safety. Security. A life where you never have to be afraid again." "And Emma? She's already mine. Already protected. That doesn't change." "What does?" His eyes burned. "Me. Us." The word hung between them. Like it was possible. Like they were building something instead of standing in ruins. "I don't know how to do this," Serena admitted. "Neither do I." Benedetto's thumb traced her lower lip. "But I'm willing to learn." The next morning brought complications. Serena woke to find Benedetto gone and Luca waiting in the hallway with a grim expression. "We found something," he said without preamble. "About Emma's mother." Her stomach dropped. "What?" Maria Belandi wasn't just running from the Rossi family. She was running from Cristiano's other enemies. All of them. How many? 3 families wanted him dead. Rossi got him first. But the others, Luca paused. They all have claims on his bloodline. Emma represents unfinished business. Serena's mind raced. So it's not just Rossi. No. It's everyone Cristiano betrayed. And they're starting to coordinate. What does that mean? It means we have maybe a week before they move together. Present a unified front. Demand Benedetto hand her over or face a war on 3 fronts. He'll never agree. I know. Luca's expression was dark. Which is why I need you to convince him. Excuse me. You're the only one he'll listen to now. The only one who can make him see reason. Luca stepped closer, his voice urgent. This isn't about honor anymore. This is about survival. 3 families, Serena. Hundreds of men. We can't win that fight. Then what do you suggest? Give them the girl. Save ourselves. The words hit like a slap. No, Serena said immediately. Be reasonable. I said no. Her voice came out harder than she'd ever heard it. Emma is a child. An innocent. If Benedetto hands her over, she dies. You know that. Better her than all of us. Get out. Luca's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake. Then it's mine to make. Get out. He left, but the damage was done. The reality had settled in her bones. They were running out of time. She found Benedetto in his study, surrounded by maps and files and the machinery of war. Luca told you, he said without looking up. Yes. And you're here to convince me to give her up. No. Serena closed the door behind her. I'm here to ask what the plan is. He finally looked at her, surprise flickering across his face. You want to fight. I want Emma to live. If that means fighting, then yes. Something shifted in his expression. Warmed. 3 families, he said quietly. The Rossi, the Marchetti, the Costa. All with legitimate grievances. All demanding blood payment. Can you negotiate? I tried. They want her dead or delivered. Nothing else matters. Then we disappear. Take Emma and run. New identities, new country. They'll find you. Maybe not today. Maybe not this year. But eventually. He stood, moved around the desk to stand before her. I won't let you live like that. Looking over your shoulder. waiting for the moment it all falls apart. Then what? His hands settled on her shoulders, warm and steady. I end this. Permanently. How? By making an example. His eyes held hers. By showing them what happens when they threaten what's mine. The violence in his tone should have terrified her. Instead it felt like safety. That's a death sentence, she said. Maybe. But it's the only way to guarantee Emma's future. His thumb stroked her collarbone absently. And yours. I don't need you to die for me. I'm not planning to die. I'm planning to win. Against 3 families? Against anyone who thinks they can take what's mine. The conviction in his voice was absolute. Serena stepped closer into his space until they were breathing the same air. Promise me something. Anything. Come back. Whatever you're planning, whatever you're going to do, promise me you'll come back. Benedetto's hands cupped her face. I promise. I don't believe you. I know. He kissed her forehead, her cheekbones, the corner of her mouth. But I'm promising anyway. Then he kissed her properly, deep and claiming and desperate, and Serena tasted goodbye in it. He left that night. Took 20 men and disappeared into Rome like smoke. Serena spent 3 days in agony watching Emma play, trying not to imagine Benedetto dead in some alley or warehouse. Rosa tried to distract her. Failed spectacularly. He'll come back, the older woman said on the 3rd night. He always does. You don't know that. I do. Rosa's smile was sad. Because now he has something to come back to. On the 4th day Luca appeared with news. It's done, he said simply. Serena's heart stopped. What's done? The heads of all 3 families. Dead. Simultaneously. Coordinated strikes on their personal compounds. Luca's expression was unreadable. Benedetto didn't just fight them. He eliminated them. He killed, she couldn't finish. Everyone who threatened Emma. Everyone who demanded her death. He cut the head off each family and made it clear, publicly clear, that the vendetta ends now or everyone burns. And Benedetto? Alive. Unharmed. Returning tomorrow. Relief flooded through her so hard she had to sit down. How many? She asked quietly. Luca understood the question. 15. Including the family heads. 15 lives. 15 deaths to purchase Emma's safety. Serena should have been horrified. Instead she felt only gratitude. Benedetto returned at dawn. Serena was waiting on the terrace, having not slept. When his car pulled up she ran. He stepped out, tired, blood-stained but alive, and caught her when she threw herself at him. You came back, she sobbed into his chest. I promised. His arms wrapped around her, holding tight. I always keep my promises. They stood there for a long moment, just breathing each other in. Then Emma's voice. Benedetto. The child came running, Rosa trailing behind with a fond smile. Benedetto crouched down, let Emma crash into him with all the force of her small body. You're okay, she said, checking him over with serious eyes. You're not hurt. I'm okay, Piccola. He brushed her hair back gently. And you're safe now. Truly safe. No one will ever try to take you again. Promise. Promise. Emma hugged him fiercely, and over her head Benedetto's eyes met Serena's. The message was clear. This is what I fought for. This is what I'd die for. And Serena, standing in the morning light with her heart full and her hands shaking, finally let herself believe it. 1 week later Benedetto called her to his study. Emma was napping, exhausted from a morning spent helping Rosa in the kitchen. The estate was quiet. Peaceful. I have something for you, he said, gesturing to the desk. Papers. Legal documents with official seals. What is this? Serena asked. Adoption papers. For Emma. Benedetto's voice was careful. I had my lawyers draft them. Full legal custody, your name as her mother, my name as... He paused. As her guardian. If you agree. Serena's breath caught. You want to. I want her to be yours. Legally. Irrevocably. No court can take her. No family can claim her. She's yours. He met her eyes. Ours if you'll let her be. Tears blurred her vision. Benedetto. There's more. He gestured to another set of papers. Property deed. An apartment in Rome. Separate from my holdings. In your name only. With enough money to support you both for life. Why? Because you deserve a choice. A real one. His expression was raw. You can take Emma and leave. Build a life away from me. From this world. From the violence. Or you stay. With me. As my... He stopped searching for words. As whatever you want to be. Wife. Partner. Family. The word wife hung in the air. You're asking me to marry you? Serena's voice came out strangled. Eventually. If you want. Benedetto moved around the desk, knelt before her. I'm asking you to choose. Freedom or... He took her hand. Or me. That's not fair. I know. But it's the only choice I can give you. Serena looked down at him, this powerful, dangerous man kneeling at her feet. Offering her everything. What if I choose you and it's a mistake? She asked quietly. Then you leave. I won't stop you. Won't chase you. His thumb rubbed across her knuckles. But I'll spend the rest of my life hoping you come back. And Emma is yours. No matter what you choose. The honesty broke her. Serena pulled him up, framed his face with her hands and kissed him with everything she had. I choose you, she whispered against his mouth. I choose us. I choose this insane, dangerous, impossible life. Benedetto's hands tightened on her waist. You're sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. His laugh was rough with relief. Stubborn woman. You love it. I love you. The words hit like lightning. Serena pulled back, staring at him. What? I love you, Benedetto repeated, his eyes burning. I've loved you since you stepped into that piazza and faced down a man twice your size to protect a child. Since you stood in my kitchen and demanded answers. Since you chose to stay when anyone sane would have run. We've only known each other 3 weeks. I know. Doesn't change anything. His forehead pressed to hers. I love you. I'm in love with you. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of that. Serena's heart pounded. I can't. You don't have to say it back. Not yet. Not until you're ready. What if I'm never ready? Then I'll love you anyway. The conviction in his voice shattered her last defenses. I'm terrified, she admitted. Good. So am I. This could be a disaster. Probably will be. We're completely insane. Absolutely. He smiled. A real smile, warm and devastating. Say yes anyway. Serena kissed him instead of answering. Poured everything she couldn't say into the press of her mouth against his. When they broke apart, she was crying. Yes, she whispered. To everything. To us. Yes. They married 3 months later. Small ceremony. Just Rosa and Luca and a handful of Benedetto's most trusted men. Emma was flower girl, beaming in a white dress that matched Serena's simple gown. The vows were traditional. The kiss was not. Afterward there was dinner and wine and laughter. Real laughter, the kind Serena hadn't heard in years. Emma fell asleep in Benedetto's arms halfway through dessert. He carried her to bed without complaint, tucked her in with the gentleness of a man who'd learned to cradle precious things. When he returned, he found Serena on the terrace, watching the sun set over the valley. Happy? He asked, sliding his arms around her waist from behind. Terrified, she admitted. But yes. Happy. Good. He kissed her neck, her shoulder, the sensitive spot behind her ear. Because you're stuck with me now. Till death do us part. Longer than that if I have any say. Serena turned in his arms, looped her hands behind his neck. What happens now? Now. Benedetto's smile was wicked. Now I take my wife to bed and show her exactly what she signed up for. Heat flooded through her. Benedetto. Unless you'd rather talk. His hands settled on her hips, fingers tracing patterns through the thin fabric of her dress. We could talk. About politics. Or territory disputes. Or... She kissed him to shut him up. He took control immediately, deepening the kiss until she was breathless and clinging and ready to forget her own name. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with want. Bedroom, he said roughly. Now. Demanding. You love it. She did. The morning came soft and golden. Serena woke wrapped in expensive sheets in Benedetto's arms, feeling thoroughly claimed and completely safe. Good morning, Mowgli, he murmured against her hair. Wife. Good morning, husband. He smiled, kissed her shoulder. I could get used to this. You better. You're stuck with me for life. Promise. Promise. They lay there in comfortable silence, the world reduced to warmth and proximity and the quiet joy of being together. Then a small voice from the doorway. Are you awake? They both turned to find Emma peeking in, her stuffed bear clutched to her chest. We're awake, Piccola, Benedetto said, sitting up. What do you need? Rosa said we're having pancakes. Can I have chocolate chips in mine? Absolutely. Emma beamed, then paused. Can I ask you something? Anything. Are you my papa now? Since you married Serena? The question hung in the air. Benedetto glanced at Serena, asking silent permission. She nodded, tears already forming. He looked back at Emma. If you want me to be. I do. Emma climbed onto the bed, settled between them. You keep us safe. You make Serena happy. And you give really good hugs. Benedetto's laugh was rough with emotion. Those are excellent qualifications. So you'll be my papa? I'd be honored, Piccola. Emma threw her arms around him and he held her close. This child he'd claimed, this daughter he'd fought for, this family he'd built from ashes and choice. Over Emma's head his eyes met Serena's. Thank you, he mouthed. No, she mouthed back. Thank you. 5 years later. Emma was 8 now. Confident, bright, with her mother's fierce heart and her father's quiet intensity. She attended the best private school in Rome, had friends who knew nothing of her past and drew constantly, always with the expensive art supplies Benedetto brought home without being asked. Serena worked part-time at a local clinic, finding purpose in healing while being home for Emma after school. Their life was normal. Surprisingly, beautifully normal. Oh, Benedetto was still the Don. Still commanded respect and fear in equal measure. Still handled territory and power with ruthless efficiency. But he came home every night. Had dinner with his family. Helped Emma with homework and listened to Serena's stories about difficult patients and made love to his wife like she was the only thing that mattered. The violence was still there. The danger. The weight of legacy. But it was balanced now. Controlled. Benedetto had learned to be both. The monster his enemies feared and the man his family loved. One evening, Serena found him in his study, staring at a photograph. It showed the three of them at Emma's 8th birthday. Emma grinning with cake on her face, Serena laughing, Benedetto's arm around them both, his expression softer than anyone outside their family would believe possible. You okay? Serena asked. He looked up, smiled. More than okay. She moved behind him, wrapped her arms around his shoulders. What are you thinking about? About how I almost said no. That day in the piazza. Almost kept walking. But you didn't. No. His hand covered hers. She chose me. And it changed everything. Do you regret it? Not once. He turned in his chair, pulled her into his lap. Best decision I never made. Serena laughed. What does that even mean? It means she chose me before I could choose her. And then you chose me before I could prove I deserved it. And now, he gestured to the photograph. Now I have this. This life. This family. This peace. It's not always peaceful. No. But it's ours. True. Devastatingly true. Serena kissed him slowly, deeply. I love you. I know. He smiled against her mouth. You married me, didn't you? Biggest mistake of my life. Absolutely. His hands tightened on her waist. Want to make another one? He pulled back, curious. What do you mean? Benedetto's expression turned serious. I want another child. With you. If you want that too. Serena's breath caught. Benedetto. I know it's asking a lot. I know Emma is enough. But he stopped, searching for words. I want to build this with you. Not just protect what we have but create more. More love. More family. More proof that we're stronger than everything that tried to destroy us. Tears burned her eyes. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said. Is that a yes? That's, she laughed through the tears. That's a let me think about it and possibly yes and definitely I love you. I'll take it. He kissed her again and this time it was promise and hope and the certainty of years ahead. Footsteps in the hallway. Emma appeared, homework in hand. Papa, I need help with math. Benedetto set Serena aside gently, turned to their daughter. Show me. And for the next hour, the The dawn of Rome helped an 8-year-old navigate fractions while his wife watched with a full heart. This was their life now. Violence and love. Power and peace. Darkness and light. Perfectly balanced. Perfectly theirs. 10 years after the piazza. Emma was 18. Headed to university. Independent, brilliant, with her adoptive father's intensity and her mother's compassion. She knew her history now. Knew about Cristiano Bellandi and the Rossi family and the war Benedetto had fought to keep her safe. And she loved him even more for it. "I'm proud of you, Piccola," Benedetto said the day she left for school. She wasn't so small anymore. But the nicknames stuck. "I'm proud of you too, Papa." Emma hugged him fiercely. "For choosing us. For being brave enough to love us. Easiest thing I've ever done." Liar. But she smiled. "Take care of Mama. And of Lucia." Lucia, their second daughter, 7 years old and already showing signs of her father's stubbornness. "Always," Benedetto promised. Emma left with tears and laughter and promises to call every week. Serena stood beside Benedetto, watching their daughter disappear into her future. "We did good," she said quietly. "You did good. I just showed up." "You did more than show up." She leaned into him. "You chose us. Every day. Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard." They stood there in the late afternoon sun, Benedetto's arm around his wife, their younger daughter playing in the garden. A family built from impossible choices and dangerous love. A family that shouldn't have survived but did anyway. "Do you ever regret it?" Serena asked. "Giving up power for this?" "I didn't give up power. I redefined it." Benedetto kissed her temple. "Power is protecting what you love. Everything else is just territory." "Philosopher now? Husband? Father?" He smiled. "Monster when necessary. I monster. Always." And there, on the terrace of the estate that had become their home, Don Benedetto Allery held his wife close and watched his daughter play and felt something he'd never expected to feel. Complete. Not despite the violence. Not separate from the darkness. But because of the choice he'd made that day in the piazza. When a terrified little girl had run to him crying. When he'd promised protection and kept it. When love had risen from darkness and rewritten everything. The end. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications for more dark romance stories every week.